Welcome to Rainbow Soul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul Soulstrology Forecast. This is Hollis Taylor. I am one of your astrologers here at Rainbow Soul, and you can learn all about me. And I have a astrology class coming up, and I do astrology readings on my website. So it's divineandrogen.com. And
hi there, good to be back. I'm Bright Hawk. You can always learn more about me at brighthawkproductions.com. I am the author of The Dancing Hippo, a beautiful gender-neutral book that is delightful, award-winning, beautiful artwork, story about resilience. It's also got a really fun ebook on my website. I'm a musician and a storyteller and happy to be an astrologer here at Rainbow Soulstrology, and happy to introduce...
I'm Lacrosse Ortiz, jack of all trades, master of none. I am a professional student of learning, trying to learn as much astrology as I can.
Aren't we all? It's an amazing, never-ending.
yeah.
The more you learn, the more you want to learn, the more there is to learn.
When I first started to learn astrology, I was like, where's the destination? Like, how do you know you're ready? And even in the first birth charts and natal charts that I did, I was like, am I ready? Am I ready? I don't know. And people were like, no, this is right on. This is perfect. And then when I started to really go into classes and have a lot of classes, I started to recognize one of the some astrologer, it might have been Nadia Shah. She said, well, you know, the thing about astrology is that you will forever be learning it. And that so you have to love learning if you're going to study astrology. So you just have to love learning and expanding your mind. And also the other thing that she said was that it's about the intuition and to follow your intuition, that it's not just a science. It's not this rock solid science, you know, like when we think about rocks, for instance, or trees and things like this is an aspen tree and this is a fir tree or whatever, right? Like with astrology, it's a little bit more intuitive, and I would say it's an intuitive science. So that's the interesting thing about astrology. I think the fact that you can learn constantly is beautiful. So.
And that every chart is unique. Every single person's blueprint in the stars is a unique and fascinating thing to learn about. You are amazing. So learning about yourself through astrology really helps polish us in a good way, I think.
Yeah, it helps you. It helps those aha moments. It's like you'll start learning your chart because you get set, because people now are so stuck on I'm a Libra or I'm a Virgo or this, and realize that you're more than just that. And when you start, I'll be like, wow, that's not a Libra trait. But then I'll look, I said, oh, my rising's in Virgo. That makes sense. And it helps you start making better sense of who you are. Mm-hmm. So it's been really helpful for me to understand myself and have compassion, because I realize some of these traits I may not like too much about myself, but it really helps me to be like, okay, maybe I can embrace it in a healthier way.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think isn't it interesting that the rising sign becomes more important as you age, especially after you go through your first and then second Saturn returns. Apparently we grow into our rising sign.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so if you don't know your rising sign, you should definitely check it out, okay, friends? You definitely need to know your rising sign. So let's take a minute to just ground and prepare ourselves. Take a deep breath. And as we sink into the music and allow our bodies to relax, we can imagine ourselves under a new moon sky. And the new moon is always so dark that you can see all of the stars and even the planets. And as you stare up at the stars and the planets, you begin to zoom in on one that's not twinkling because it's a planet. And as you get closer and closer and zooming in, you become closer to the very beautiful planet of Mercury. Mercury is a warm planet and tends to move very fast. The most interesting thing about Mercury, its history, the god it's named after, is that it's neutral. It's gender neutral. And it is a messenger of spirit. And Mercury, as they move quickly through the sky, they deliver messages to us. Messages from the universe. Those messages might come through other people, or we might suddenly know them when we didn't know before. And they essentially are the messenger of spirit. In all the ways that they deliver messages. And take a deep breath. Allow Mercury to offer you a message or two. Reminding us that the universe has reflections of the natural part that is gender bending. The gender neutral expression absolutely exists not only on the planet Earth, but in our universe too. humans awaken to the realization of the expansiveness of gender, all queers, all gender variant people deliver the messages of spirit, helping humans grow out of binary thinking. We can thank Mercury for their beautiful lesson, their beautiful messages. As we step back and zoom back to ourselves standing on planet Earth, staring at the beautiful expanse of the sky above us. Back into our bodies and come back into the here and now. Be grateful for where we are in this moment. You can wiggle your toes and squeeze your muscles and then release them. Stretch your fingers. And come back to your here and now. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Red Hog. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I love hand pan music. Makes it so much easier to meditate, in my opinion.
My pleasure.
It does help.
It does.
Yeah.
I think it's because it just opens the door to the other side. So.
Oh yeah.
So it's really helpful. So you can listen to Bright Hawk on SoundCloud. So if you're doing a meditation and you want to listen to hand pan music, you can find her on SoundCloud, or you can download her music from her website. So we are kind of shifting the way we do things here. And we're just gonna try some different ways. Wasn't that funny? Okay. We're gonna try some different ways to do things. And this week we are going to do a forecast. Of course, we're doing this from February 27th to March 5th. And this forecast, we're going to start with the collective, but I will go through each sign. And for the next couple of weeks, you'll probably have to fast forward until you find your sign, or you can just listen to all of them. And you know, I'll go through each and every sign. Aries, I'll go through, you know, every single one from Aries all the way through. Okay. Now, first, this is the collective, and Bright Hawk will talk about the moon as well. And we'll talk about how this applies to the collective, meaning everyone. Okay. That's what I mean when I say the collective. And the one on the left is the beginning of the week, and the one on the right is the end of the week. And the thing about these charts is I don't want to overwhelm you, but the thing is that it's easier for me to read if I have the chart. Okay. And I want to just say that sometimes just the more you look at it, the easier it becomes. And so I included the chart on the little triangle, like square graph chart there on the left. And those are really That's really helpful because it will help you see exactly what aspects are going on. Okay. Especially if you're like, is that line pointing to Jupiter or Chiron? Right. Okay. And it's sometimes hard to tell. So, so if you look at this chart, that helps. So we begin the week off, with, frankly, a beautiful, lots of blessings with, but the interesting thing is that Jupiter and Venus in the beginning of the week are here, and they're kind of next to each other, and Venus is going to dance over top of everything up there in the 11th house, which is on this chart, it's the 11th house, but it's not the 11th house for everyone. So, you know, Venus is going to like sort of play the guitar. She's going to ding, 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 ding. And she's going to move through those most of this week. So, where's the moon at in the beginning of the week, Brett?
Well, the beginning of the week, the moon is in Gemini. It's in the first quarter of, it's a waxing moon in Gemini. And just to remind us, when the moon is in Gemini, remember, Gemini is air. And so it's versatile, it's witty, it's a thinker. When we're thoughtful with our emotions and hopefully with our words, lively and amusing, Gemini moons can be very charming. The challenge side of a Gemini moon could be disorganization, inconsistency, maybe a little lack of committal or superficiality, there's a light and a dark to all things, right? So, the dark side of Gemini could be potentially, cunning or manipulative, right? But the bright side of Gemini is fun and amusing and a great networker, very diplomatic, and, can be very, very sweet. So it's an active mind, the moon with Gemini is an active mind. So at the beginning of the week, it's really pretty chill, the sextile to Chiron, sextile to Venus. The moon does conjunct Mars at the beginning of the week. It does say hi to Mars. And, all of us who have strong Mars placements, Mars has been super intense for a really long time. It's almost out of its shadow period. Thank God it's finally direct again, right? But it's finally, as it moves into March, it finally starts to move out of its shadow period. That means that Mars is now finally, it's crossed over all of the space that it went retrograde in, and then it emerges out of that after this week. So, right?
Thank goodness.
So
and I see it's conjunct, and so I'm just going to say moon conjunct Mars. That just essentially means they're on top of each other. So in the beginning of the week, be sure that you hold your temper, because the moon rules emotions and Mars rules war. So I just want to say, if people start arguing around you, or you find yourself in an argument, try to not to cast war on someone that's hurt your feelings. Like, Mars can make you kind of overdo things, in my opinion. I mean, sometimes we have every right to be angry, but we can make mountains out of molehills, if you will. Like, just make it bigger than it needs to be. So I would just be a little careful of that. Thank goodness it's trining. What's it trining? Vesta?
It's got a sextile to Chiron and Venus, and then on the 28th, it's got trines with Mercury and a trine with Saturn. So those are blessings. Those are sweet flowing energy, and we love that. So the easier than it's been. I know it just feels like it's been months of intensity. This week feels like we get a little bit of a catch your breath. And so that's the first 2 days of the week, the last 2 days of the month.
Right. And that's going to be really helpful, because there is the trine going on with Saturn and Pallas Athena, which tells me right away that you're going to have good strategies about things. So apply your strategies, apply those things that work really well for you, apply those kinds of things. And also with Vesta squaring, you could be sort of shifting what your focus is. You could just be changing the way it is. And so be open to new ways of doing things and things like that. Just be open to that. And the biggest opposition will be Vesta and Ceres still, which we talked about a little bit last week, which is very much about staying dedicated to taking care of yourself. Okay.
Well, Wednesday, the aspects of the moon are a little bit more intense. You have 3 squares, one with Jupiter, Chiron, and Venus. On the bright side, you have sextiles with the North Node and Uranus. So the thing that happens on Wednesday, March 1st, is that the moon comes home, because when the moon is in Cancer, the moon rules Cancer, right? Cancer is the sign of the crab, the water, the tides, the flow. So imagine how you feel when you come home. But then imagine you have to have a conversation with Jupiter, who's going to make things bigger, and you might want to just chill. Chiron, which is checking in again about your healing and what you're committed to, and Venus, and how, those 3 flavors together, right? Are you in a healthy relationship, and how are you doing? How do you bring your best self to that, right? So when the moon is in Cancer, sorry if I forgot to say that part, the moon can be very imaginative because we're in the water, right? Sympathetic because we're flowing. It could be protective because remember, the crab carries its home on its back. So it can be protective that way. It can be kind of tenacious. It can be very loyal. Cancers can be very loyal. And of course, they have a real sense of home. So when Cancer comes home in the sign of home, the challenge side can be mine. Possessive, right? Can also be on the moody side. Sometimes Cancers don't know they're mad until they hear themselves shouting, right? They can be on the critical side. They can also, moody, self-pity, naggy, the fun things that we all have in us that we can't stand, right? Those little things that are in a Cancer moon. But bottom line, the moon is happy at home. Think about how you feel when you come home. But there are these conversations that are happening that could be potentially get big. So kind of what you were saying before about mindfulness.
Yeah, just mindfulness. Just be careful of your emotions and stuff, especially what you've got to say. And with Venus doing that dance through in Aries, Venus and Aries is sort of fiery, feminine energy. It can also be sort of, I wouldn't recommend changing, like you might experiment with some new styles or new ways of looking or something like that, but don't make any permanent changes. I wouldn't do that now. Just because Venus is in Aries, you may not be happy with it once Venus gets out of Aries. And so, Venus in Aries is just very fiery and like fast, and she starts off the week conjunct with Jupiter and then moves through. So she dances over Jupiter, which is about making everything bigger. And that's the other reason I said you might come up with some of your own styles or your own way of doing things, because Jupiter tends to bring those kinds of things forward anyway. And then moving over Chiron, which, Venus and Chiron, that's very much about the healing energy and healing those old wounds, so that you can bring them forward in a beautiful way, in a loving way. Okay. And then as Venus moves towards Juno, that's like relationships and commitments and things like that by the end of the week. So I'm starting to go, if something's going on in your relationships, don't be surprised Venus with relationships, especially relationships that involve feminine people. It probably will start out very big and then come down to, by the end of the week, the energy of it will sort of get smaller and become more, it will become more, focused on that energy, on commitment energy.
For sure, because the difference between the energy on Wednesday and the energy on Saturday, all of the things that are square, Jupiter, Chiron, Venus, that are square on March 1st, are in trines on Saturday, March 4th. Trine with Venus, trine with Chiron, trine with Jupiter. So, and a sextile with Mars. So there is a square with Uranus, but Saturday will bring that resolution, that sweetness, that flow. You never know what Uranus will put it in the spin, but yeah, all the things that are maybe questions on Wednesday might have answers on Saturday.
The nice thing is that Uranus will be sextiling the sun. And so that's great news, because when Uranus is sextiling the sun, I think we will see more positive expressions of authenticity. Okay, because Uranus is super authentic. It's super, this is what we see amongst trans people. This is what Uranus is out of the box and different, okay? And so it tends to do things in a revolutionary way. And so with the sun, it's sort of like that way. So you may also have some great ideas about any kind of revolutionary work that you're doing, or anything that is revolutionary thinking or forward thinking. By the end of the week, you're going to know exactly which way to go. And that's going to be an excellent gift, in my opinion. With the sun also, although the sun will be squaring Mars, so it may not be time for action exactly in the moment, but, just again, be aware that Mars just has to chug-a-lug a little bit more and get the hell out of Gemini. And hopefully your temper will simmer down by the end of the week, because it will start moving its way. It's starting to move faster, and the faster it moves, the less it affects us, like personally as a collective. Of course, you'll need to look at your chart, where Mars is in your chart. You should definitely pay attention if you have Mars in Gemini.
Have a sense of humor. If the last several months have felt like everything has pissed you off, you are not alone. Oh, I wish it wasn't the case, but everybody has had the ride. No matter where it is in your chart, we've all had the ride with Mars. So it'll be nice. And again, on the weekend, the moon is sextiling Mars. So on the weekend, the moon moves into Leo. I'm a Leo moon. So when the Leo, you have the moon, emotional moon meeting, Leo the lion. And so it's affectionate, and Leo moons have an instinct for leadership, and they're exuberant and creative, broad-minded, generally looking at how to serve in a way that's for the greatest good of all, for the collective. They can be colorful and fun-loving. And of course, on the challenging side, they can be self-indulgent, self-centered, potentially egotistical, arrogant, those kind of fun things. We want to make sure, a Leo moon could also be potentially bullying. You don't want to be that, or overbearing, right? So those are the challenge sides. But bottom line, Leo moon is very positive, looks at the bright side of life and is ready to sort of lead people into let's do something good for the greater good. So that's the weekend, and the weekend is sweeter. It's some real nice flow energy for the weekend. But I don't know, whatever plans you have, it might be nice to do something that first weekend in March.
Now, the interesting thing is you got the moon in opposition to Saturn and Mercury. Well, because they're conjunct. Now, earlier in the week, Mercury, as I mentioned in our meditation, moves pretty quick. So Mercury will be approaching Saturn. Now, what's Saturn all about? It's usually, when we're talking about the collective, it's usually about the system. It's also sometimes about, Big Brother, the government, infrastructure and limits. Okay. And when Mercury is approaching it, that's going to mean we're going to start communicating about something. And it's in opposition to the moon in Leo. So I start to think about, and Leo's pretty noble. And I'm like, oh, and it's in opposition. So some of the conversations might be about being out of integrity. So don't be surprised if we start seeing some conversations about people out of integrity, which there's plenty of those around in our system, and or other conversations about what's the right thing to do in this or that. Okay. Because then also Mercury is moving out of Aquarius, which is the out of the box thinker, into Pisces, which is more of a watery thinker, which can sometimes not be very clear. Think about it. If your emotions can easily get in the way when you're thinking, I know that's happened to me. If I'm emotional and I'm trying to think something through, it's probably not going to come out right. So, and so Mercury will start moving closer to the sun as well, which will mean that the talk will get louder and louder and louder as the week goes on. So I don't know what's going on in the system, except I would guess that it has to do with that we started out with that out of the box thinking, and now we're moving into discussion about it that's probably not super clear and not really making things clear. It will get clearer when it gets to Aries, and hopefully we'll be able to have a better conversation about things. But the nice thing about Pisces is it will include the emotions of people, and it will explore all sides of it, including not just what's the right thing to do or what's our limit in this, but also hopefully consider everyone's emotional experience, and hopefully there won't be too much muddy waters over that, if you get what I'm saying.
Pisces is about the collective.
Mm-hmm. And Mercury is a messenger of spirit. So whatever messages come out in that week for you personally, you should definitely be paying attention, especially if those messages have something to do around your system or the system or your foundation or your limits. So if someone has delivered a message to you, you should be listening. Okay? I would be paying attention, because Mercury and Saturn conjunct, yeah, that's just going to be, and so it's going to move over top of it. Essentially, throughout the week, slowly but surely, Mercury is going to move right over top of Saturn and move right into Pisces. Like in the middle of the week, by the end of the week, Mercury will be headed towards the sun. And when Mercury reaches the sun, by the end of the following week, it will be very loud. Whatever talk is going on, it will be loud. So those are the biggest aspects of this week. Those are the biggest things that are happening. And with Mercury being in opposition to the moon, it just makes me think about our noble emotions, and those maybe not being expressed as well as they could be. And hopefully we'll be able to work through the illusions in the next couple of weeks, because sometimes Pisces can bring illusions.
I'm hoping with the Leo moon by the weekend that noble, it becomes easy to see what's right versus what's crazy, what's delusional, and make noble choices, make good choices.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Especially that includes everyone. So, yes. So Lacrosse, did you have something to add?
I don't know. It's a lot. I'm like, I'm still digesting.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
like I know it seems like a smooth week, but I guess that's the whole energy of it. It really isn't as smooth as it looks. Like there's a lot of serious decisions or choices. Like you can't just make a half-ass choice at this point. It's in other words, it's easy to make the quick choice. It might not be the right choice though. So I guess that's what I'm getting out of this because if it seems smooth in the beginning and then at the end, here you have this Pisces, it's almost like, is that the right decision or isn't that the right decision? Am I going the right way or am I not going the right? It's not as easy as it looks, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where that Leo will come in and be like, you know, brighten it up with that fire and say, yeah, no, that's not the right way to go. Or yes, you're going the right way.
Or
So I
just
guess
do
we're
the right
lying.
thing. Like,
Yeah, I guess we're
do the
lying
right
on that. Yeah.
thing. If you
So,
stay doing the right thing, you should be fine. That
yeah.
will be the most important thing, I think.
Yeah.
And the other thing is Pluto's going to sextile the part of fortune on the 5th. So what does that mean? That means um you could have changes in your money or your fortune. So if something comes up about how you make your money or how money comes to you or you have an idea or something like that, you should follow through on it because Pluto tends to bring transformation and change. Okay. So, hey, Lacrosse, what did you pick up anything about the moon, or is that what the what
We're still in a wolf
we're
moon.
still in a wolf moon?
We're still in the wolf. I guess like seeing everything all compacted in one thing, how I was thinking of a pack, how the pack is, and a lot of them had to do with relationships, siblings, family. Like I noticed like some were about business, but like a good majority of them had to do with family. Like we were talking about, what is it, the third, the seventh, and the 11th house. And that
Mm-hmm.
it was just really reminding me of the pack, how wolves are such pack animals. Everything is about the collective. Everything is about, everybody has a job and everything is about the collective. So that really, really stood out to me because, usually I guess I expect it to be more spread out, you know,
Often it
but
is, but
yeah,
not
yeah,
always.
yeah. And just seeing this, it's like, okay, relationship, okay, relationship, okay, relationship, okay, siblings, friends, so it kind of coincides with that because wolves are always about their pack. Everything is about the pack, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I think but they can be hot tempered, and that's another thing. They'll fight so quick in their pack, they love each other, but they'll fight, and I guess that's where you got to kind of be careful. You don't come as this aggressive wolf and just start fighting because Mars is pretty potent through all that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Mars is ready to start a fight anywhere. Like it's like it don't matter what house it's in. It's like, okay, what? It looked like Mars is ready to start a fight. So yeah, so I guess just being really cautious and aware that you could be really aggressive. So because if it's not for the better of the collective of the pack, then it really doesn't serve a purpose, you know.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, learning to manage Mars. What have I learned in this Mars Gemini transit is that anger is actually a choice, and I can get mad. I gave that person that I'm mad at, that made me mad, a lot of power.
Mm,
They have now controlled my day or my afternoon or my evening, and frankly, I don't like that. I don't want someone else to control my day. That's why I'm an entrepreneur. So that pisses me off. So I tend to not want to give my power to somebody else. So anger is a choice. And so if I do feel frustrated, I try to back up and figure out what's really causing the frustration because I'm not always usually mad at the person. A lot of times it's something I did wrong, maybe I didn't communicate the instructions well enough. Maybe or maybe I'm expecting too much out of this person. Maybe I'm asking too much and now they're doing what they thought was fine or whatever, you know, or maybe I'm just expecting that person to be something they're not. And those are other things, you know. So if you're dealing with a narcissist in your life, if you're cutting off a narcissist or something like that, and you find yourself getting angry at them, you must ask yourself, first of all, do they deserve that level of power? Second, um, are you sure? Like, are you sure that there wasn't a part, like, what are you really mad at?
Right.
Because usually underneath of anger is pain. It's a choice, a painful choice that you made maybe, or something else that's gone on. And with frustration, which is kind of like anger, but not the same, frustration, I find, is the same thing. I don't want to give my power away. I don't want someone to have that much power over me. So I just don't allow it.
Right.
So there are times that it comes up, but for the most part, I just don't allow it. Like, I'm like, okay, this is where we're at. You know, I
well,
bet you felt a lot with frustration and anger.
yeah, well, it's funny because when I think of anger, or, you know, it's just an emotion, just like love. You know, it's just an emotion, and it only has the power you give it. You know, like I always used to tell people, to gain my anger is like to gain my love. You have to earn it. You have to work for it. It's not something I'm going to easily give. You know, people are so quick to give the anger, you know, just and honestly, just as quickly to give love. Like, how many people, they change their partner faster than they change, you know, I don't know, wash their hands, you know, and you see that, and you see people get angry at the drop of a dime. And I've realized, I have come to a point in my life where those two aren't any different from each other, and you have to work for them, and you have to earn that. Just as much as you have to earn my love, you have to earn my anger and my resentment. I'm not going to freely give that to you, you know? So if it gets to that point, then I realize, if I got to that point where I got that angry at that person, they really worked for it. This isn't, you know, this isn't something that was just easily happened. So I can come back and I can look at that and say, okay, I got angry, and I could look at all the reasoning behind it and be okay with it. Not that I'm saying I'm justifying it, but, you know, there was a lot of work that was put into that, because I don't give it freely, if that makes any sense, you know.
Sure.
So
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, I just don't spend a whole lot of time on anger. I do the Scorpio thing, which is if you cross my boundaries enough, I'll just cut you off.
yeah,
I'll just stop interacting with you. I'll stop talking to you. I'll stop you know, I don't usually block people on Facebook, but I am likely to unfollow you.
yeah,
And
that's
it's a
me.
very Scorpio thing, but I've
Yeah,
learned that it's actually a good thing,
yeah.
because then I'm not giving you power to frustrate me anymore,
Hmm.
right? Because the person that had to work really hard to piss you off,
Yeah.
you had to get some signs ahead of time, right? Where you were like,
Er,
and so
er.
as a Scorpio, I tend to cut it off before it gets to that point. So
Yeah,
I tend to be like, this is
yeah,
my boundary. So anger and frustration, I am very protective of my energy levels.
right.
Scorpio rising, I'm like, these are my energy levels. No, you may not have any.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and and I don't know if that's greedy or if it's just, it's part of,
It's
like,
smart.
I think
No, I don't think it's greedy. It's like some people think it's selfish. It's not selfish, it's self-preservation. There's a big difference between the two.
I
You
agree.
know, how I feel, and my emotions and my mental state are that important to me. It's not selfish, it's self-preservation. If you're going to invade that, or try to invade that, now I have no problem with, once again, poof, you are banished out the kingdom. I cannot even play that, because my mental state means way more. But, you know, it's taken me a long time to get to this point, to set up these boundaries. I'm not just going to let anybody just come and knock them over. It's too much, you know. No way. No way.
Yeah, that's the thing, is learning how to like back up enough
Yeah.
to catch the boundary crossed before you
Yeah.
get mad.
Yeah.
That's a trick. And as a Libra moon, I'll say that I personally, it took me a while to figure that out because, as I mentioned, Libra tends to put everybody else first, right? Okay. So everybody else's emotions were more important than mine, right? Okay. And so then I just am now I'm like, no, you don't even get to, if you push on that, we're done. Then my Scorpio goes, mm-mm.
Yeah.
Not, no. And then that's the end of it. And then the person's no longer in my life. I cut them off.
Right.
That's the easiest way to deal with it. And I know there are times that I can't or shouldn't cut a person off. Maybe I have a commitment to them or something like that, and I just keep them as far away as I
Right.
can keep them and still hold that commitment. So I'll just keep them as far out. I'll try to put them on Pluto or something. Uh,
There you go.
and but I'll still try to follow through on my commitment because, you know, I'm a Scorpio rising. Now I'll do what I say I'm gonna do.
Right, right. I think that's where like the North Node had come in so important to me because of course my North Node is Aries and I'm Libra, and I'm realizing that that part of myself, that Aries, it's not about the aggression or anything. It's about that protection. So I grab my rising of my Virgo, which is protection. I need to protect this and my Aries, and that sets up my perimeter. It's like creating that perimeter. And,
Mm.
and it's been so helpful. And that's the good thing about the astrology is that I would have never known that I had to go forward to be more in that Aries mentality and let go of some of the Libra. I can't save the world. I can't please everybody. I have to, you know, protect this, and then I can do something for you after I'm already fixed.
Right. hmm Boy, Libra, we have lots to learn about relationships. That's just what I'm saying. My friends, I'm going to pull 3 tarot cards for you and let you take these messages, take what you like, and leave the rest, okay? So, my friends, interesting. The first card is the 2 of Cups. And so this is, let me pin this. I can pin it. Here we go. Okay, here it is. This is a relationship card. This card is very much about love, commitment, relationships, romance. And so maybe you had a good time over Valentine's Day with your partner, or maybe something else good has happened over the years. There could be something good about the relationship. And this is a reminder of that, okay? This week coming up, stay connected to the good parts about your relationship. Try to be grateful for the good parts you've had, especially if you start to find yourself thinking more negatively, like, am I enough? Am I good enough? Does she love me? Does he really care for me? Whatever is going on there. Okay. There's a little light so you can see this one a little bit better. This person is underwater. That means they're pretty much overwhelmed with their emotions. And with the boat flying overhead, that tells me that it has a lot to do with what you're thinking. Okay, so pay attention to your thoughts, especially if you were abandoned by a parent as a child, even as infancy or any time during your childhood. And it doesn't have to be full-time abandonment. It could just mean that they went to the store and you were 5 years old and they left you home alone while you were sleeping and you woke up and realized you were alone. It could be something as small as that. There's abandonment feelings that we carry forward, and I assure you that they can be very hidden and you may not be aware of them, okay? And if you're worried about somebody abandoning you, I just want to say, take a look at your thoughts, take some awareness, check in on the trauma from your past. Make sure that's not floating through your thoughts and bringing sort of emotions out that you're like, I hope they don't leave me or don't love me anymore or anything like that. If you ever felt rejected from a parent, you may have some thoughts like that. Okay. And then as we're going forward, this is the Queen of Swords, which is pretty much if you do suffer some sort of trauma, or if you do need to overcome your thoughts, you will be able to transform them. This is the Queen of Swords. She's going to take action to change those thoughts. Okay. She's going to make sure that you shift those thoughts from where they are over into something that's more reasonable. So grasp a hold of those ideas. Like maybe it's like, cognitive behavior therapy, which is just as simple as thinking a different way, telling yourself a different story. That's pretty much what CBT is, cognitive behavior therapy. There's also somatic training where if you start to feel emotional, or like your partner doesn't love you anymore, or you start to feel abandoned or something like that, you can move your body in a particular way. You can like shake it out there. You can just look it up on YouTube, somatic exercises. And so things like that is the Queen of Swords. She's going to help you move. She's going to help you take action on the wisdom that you've received on how to work through those thoughts. Okay. On how to allow those thoughts to float by instead of drowning you, instead of plugging up the drain and allowing you to get drowned in your emotions. Because that's what the King of Cups is about. He's kind of drowned in his emotions, and they are very sort of okay with suffering, frankly. You can see they're kind of petting the fish, and they got birds flying overhead, and they're not paying attention to their thoughts. So if you find yourself very attached to suffering, especially in relation to relationships, just be aware that you may just be needing to have a little bit more gratitude. So try to harvest some gratitude for what has happened in your relationships that has been really good, that has felt really good. Whatever those things are from your past, try to harvest those and stay focused on those instead of those random thoughts coming up in your mind. And make sure you take action on those thoughts so that they don't drown you. Find different ways to deal with it. There are different ways, my friends. I promise there is. Okay. And I hope you just take what you like, leave the rest, and enjoy this week's. We've visited all the zodiac signs, and we're kind of shifting the way we're doing things. So let us know if you like it. Subscribe, comment. Let us know some ideas you might like to have. Please comment down below. I'll be happy to answer them. And and subscribe. Please help us. The more people that subscribe, the more time and effort we can put into it. So that you can also support us. You can like just buy us a cup of coffee. So what, $1? Or maybe you give $5. Whatever you can give. If you could at least subscribe or share, that's free ways to help us out. And then, of course, if you just like, that's also a free way to help us out. And then if you want to, if you have a little extra cash and you want to share it, please go ahead and just click on Anchor. There's a way to support us where you can just offer us, $1 or $5. Okay? All right, my friends. Thank you. And have a sweet week, and may you be blessed.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.